The conflict between Russia and Ukraine is intensifying and is becoming deadlier. Now, Kiev has said that 2 ballistic missiles blasted a military training facility and also a nearby hospital in Ukraine, killing at least about 47 people and wounding more than 200 others. Now, this happens to be one of the deadliest Russian strikes since the beginning of the war. Our next point gets you more details.
In a shocking display of military might, Russia unleashed a relentless assault on Ukraine, leaving a trail of destruction in its wake. The city of Poltava bear witness to the ferocity of these attacks, with shattered buildings and broken lives littering the landscape. The toll is staggering. Dozens dead and hundreds wounded in what is being described as one of the deadliest offensives against Ukraine till date.
I have received preliminary reports on the Russian strike on Poltava. According to currently available information, 2 ballistic missiles hit the territory of an educational institution and a nearby hospital. One of the buildings of the Institute of Communications was partially destroyed. People found themselves under the rubble.
Ukrainian officials say that the weapons employed in this brutal onslaught left civilians with precious little time to seek shelter once air raid sirens blared. The past week has seen a marked intensification of Russia's missiles and drone strikes, with Ukraine enduring its heaviest bombardment yet. Hundreds of ballistic and cruise missiles have rained down, overwhelming Ukrainian air defense and causing death and destruction. Ukraine launched its own counteroffensive, deploying over 150 drones to target Russian infrastructure, including an oil refinery near Moscow and a power station. Kyiv has been pushing for more long-range weaponry. The US is reportedly close to finalizing an agreement to provide Ukraine with long-ranging cruise missiles capable of reaching deep into Russia. However, Kyiv may have to wait several months as technical issues are resolved before any shipment can be made. The US has been cautious in supplying weapons that could strike within Russia, wary of escalating the conflict further and potentially drawing NATO into the war or provoking a nuclear response. On the battlefield, Russian forces continue to make advances in eastern Ukraine, where fighting is particularly intense near the city of Pokrovsk. President Zelensky has acknowledged the mounting challenges as Russian troops gain control of 477 square kilometers of Ukrainian territory in August alone, Moscow's largest territorial gain in nearly a year. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
All right, now to help make sense of why this war is suddenly again escalating, we're being joined by Dr. Glenn Diesen, who's a professor of international relations at the University of Southeastern Norway. He's joining us on this broadcast live. Now, Professor Diesen, the recent attack that has taken place where the Russians have carried out a strike on a facility that the Ukrainians are describing as a military educational facility, in which about 47 people are said to have died. Are we witnessing a sharp escalation here? Because this happens to be one of the biggest attacks that Russia has carried out in this manner.
Yes, so this is very horrific, the casualty numbers. And I think this is also common what one sees towards the later stages of wars. This is a common phenomenon. And we see the same symptoms now that Ukraine and NATO is losing this war. And that is the symptom of growing casualties. So this is often caused by a weaker strategic position, lack of resources, disorganized leadership, can be collapse in morale. Overall, you see often logistics break down. There's a lack of ammunition and manpower. You see then more people defect, surrender. reinforcements do not show up. And as a result, this only escalates. Front lines are broken, cauldrons are formed in which troops have to fall back in a disorganized manner, which allows the winning side to knock out the retreating forces. Also, I think when wars come to an end, there's usually more informants, which you see in this case as well, I think. That is people jumping ships as they're betting on the winning side. I don't have any evidence of this, but the intelligence and spy network of Russia appears to have improved. So I think this is quite common. And to add to it, I think Russia will be much less constrained now going forward, given that it sees itself under pressure to escalate as well in response to the invasion of Kursk and also NATO's willingness to attack Russia more and more directly.
Right, and also considering that the Russian President Vladimir Putin, of course, was in Mongolia, and considering the fact that he has an arrest warrant by the International Criminal Court, but he still was able to travel to a country that is a signatory to the International Criminal Court. What does it mean, when the International Criminal Court puts out an arrest warrant and that is simply not adhered to or implemented?
Well, it's quite significant, but it's important not to mix up the ICC with the ICJ. So this is effectively Mongolia ignoring an agreement which it has signed, and this I think shows that countries are effectively starting to bet on one horse, if you will, and it's an indication that the West's influence over these countries are reducing, and also they're preparing effectively for a Russian victory, and making sure that the relations with Russia is prioritized above that of the ICC. And you can also add that this is maybe more important for Mongolia even than other countries, given that they are locked between China and Russia as a landlocked country, and they definitely it's in their own national interest to have good relations with Russia.
All right, we'll have to leave there. Thank you very much indeed, Dr. Glenn Deason, for joining us and getting us that perspective there. For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.